The crystalline towers of Velara stretched toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Taiho stood at the landing platform, watching his small ship power down. The engines clicked and hissed as they cooled. He had traveled for 3 weeks to reach this world, the heart of the Vryn Empire. His partner Kyung climbed out of the cockpit, stretching his arms. "You sure about this? That contract has been open for 23 years. Hundreds of people tried and failed." Taiho picked up his datapad and studied the old posting again. "Find 3 missing princesses. Reward beyond measure." The words were simple, but the pain behind them was clear. Everyone failed because they gave up too soon. Or because the princesses are dead, Kyung said quietly. "That's what most people think." Taiho didn't answer. He just walked toward the palace entrance. The guards, tall and elegant with their blue-silver skin, watched him with curious eyes. Humans were rare in this part of space. They were known as stubborn creatures who explored too much and asked too many questions. Inside the palace, everything glowed softly. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that caught light and held it. A royal advisor met them, her face showing no emotion. "You are here for the contract?" "Yes," Taiho said. The advisor's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. "Follow me. The Queen will see you personally. She sees all who attempt this task." They walked through long hallways. Kyung whispered, "She sees everyone? That's dedication." "Or hope," Taiho replied. The throne room was vast and empty. At its center, on a seat made of black stone and silver metal, sat Queen Elantha. She was tall, like all Vryn, with wise eyes that had seen too much sadness. When she looked at Taiho, he felt the weight of her grief. "Another one," she said softly. Her voice was like music, but tired music. "You are human. I have not seen your kind attempt this contract before." Taiho stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, my name is Taiho. I am a salvage pilot and search and rescue specialist. I want to help you find your daughters." The Queen stood up slowly. She moved to a large window that showed the capital city below. 23 years ago, my daughters were taken from me. Soren was 8, Myra was 6, Vera was only 4 years old. Her voice broke slightly on the last name. They were on a diplomatic ship. The Void Collective attacked without warning. My guards died protecting them, but it was not enough. "What happened to the ship?" Taiho asked. "It was found 3 weeks later, drifting in empty space. Everyone was dead or gone. My daughters vanished completely." The Queen turned back to face him. "Do you know how many hunters, mercenaries, and trackers have tried to find them?" 347. The best in the galaxy. All failed." Taiho walked closer. "May I see the evidence? All of it?" The Queen gestured to her advisor. Within minutes, Taiho was sitting at a table covered with data pads, holograms, and reports. Kyung joined him, and they began to study everything. The Queen watched from her throne, silent. Hours passed. The advisor brought them food, which they barely touched. Taiho's eyes moved quickly over each report, each piece of data. He made notes on his own pad, drawing connections and patterns. Finally, as the purple sun set outside, Taiho looked up. The Queen was still watching him. She had not moved. "Your Majesty, everyone who searched for your daughters looked in the wrong way," Taiho said. "They used logic and technology. They searched patterns and probabilities, but they forgot something important." "What did they forget?" the Queen asked. "Desperation. Chaos, the panic of people trying to hide something fast." Taiho stood up. "The Void Collective are raiders, not kidnappers. They take things to sell, not to keep. Your daughters were cargo to them." The Queen's face went pale. "Cargo? I'm sorry, but yes, which means they didn't keep your daughters. They sold them." Taiho's voice was gentle but firm. That's why no one found them in void territory. They were moved within days, maybe hours, scattered to different buyers to avoid attention. The royal advisor gasped. Several guards who stood nearby looked shocked. This was new information, a new theory that no one had considered before. Kyung stood up too. If they were scattered, finding them will be almost impossible. Almost impossible is not the same as impossible, Taiho said. He turned to the queen. Your Majesty, I need 3 years, full access to your intelligence networks, your archives, and enough money to travel and ask questions. I will find your daughters. The court erupted in whispers. The advisor stepped forward. Young human, you do not understand what you promise. Greater minds than yours have failed. Warriors, scientists, trackers with centuries of experience. But they were not human, Taiho said simply. The queen raised her hand, and silence fell. She walked down from her throne until she stood directly in front of Taiho. She was taller than him, but somehow she seemed smaller, tired, ancient with grief. Why do you think you can succeed? She asked. Taiho met her eyes without fear. Because humans are stubborn, Your Majesty. We don't know when to quit. We chase lost causes because we believe in them. Your daughters are out there somewhere. 23 years is a long time, but not too long. I will find them because I don't know how to give up. The queen studied his face for a long moment. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room. She smiled. It was small and sad, but real. 3 years, she said. You have 3 years, Taiho of Earth. I will give you everything you need. Find my daughters. Bring them home. Taiho bowed deeply. I promise, Your Majesty. I don't make promises I can't keep. The advisor began to protest, but the queen silenced her with a look. He is different from the others. I can feel it. There is something in humans that we Vrin do not have. Something that does not calculate odds or accept defeat. That night, Taiho and Kyung were given rooms in the palace. Kyung paced back and forth, worried. 3 years? We promised 3 years? Do you know how crazy that sounds? Taiho lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. We'll find them. You can't know that. No, Taiho admitted. But I can try. And I can keep trying until I succeed, or die. That's what humans do, Kyung. We're not the strongest or the smartest. But we never stop. Kyung stopped pacing and looked at his friend. Finally, he sighed. Okay, 3 years. Let's find some lost princesses. Outside, the purple moon rose over Velara. In her chambers, Queen Elantha stood at her window, holding an old photograph of 3 young girls smiling at the camera. For the first time in many years, she felt something strange and fragile in her chest. Hope. 6 months had passed like water through Taiho's fingers. He sat in a dark corner of a station bar, watching people move past. Aliens of every kind traded goods, told lies, and made deals. This was the 7th station he had visited, and he was tired. Kyung slid into the seat across from him. Nothing again. 3 different information dealers, and they all said the same thing. No records, no sales. Nothing. Taiho took a drink of bitter alien coffee. It tasted terrible, but it kept him awake. Someone knows something. 23 years ago, someone moved 3 Vrin children. That's not easy to hide completely. Maybe they killed them, Kyung said quietly. Maybe we're chasing ghosts. No, Taiho's voice was firm. I don't believe that. A young Vrin soldier named Hyun approached their table. The queen had sent him to observe and report back. He looked uncomfortable in the rough station. The queen asks for an update. Tell her we're still searching, Taiho said. She knows that. She wants to know if you have found anything new. Taiho met the soldier's eyes. Tell her that humans measure success differently. We count attempts, not just results. Every dead end teaches us something. Hyun looked confused but nodded and left. Kyung shook his head. That's a fancy way of saying we found nothing. We've eliminated 700 possible leads, Tae-ho countered. That's not nothing. The next day, Tae-ho met with Mira. She was a human information broker, someone who bought and sold secrets. She had contacts everywhere, including places the Vrin Empire couldn't reach. They met in her office, a small room filled with screens and data. You're becoming famous, Mira said, leaning back in her chair. The human who promised to find the lost princesses. People are taking bets on how long before you give up. What are the odds? Tae-ho asked. 20-1 that you quit within a year. Mira grinned. I bet on you to succeed. The odds are terrible, but the payout would be amazing. Glad I could be your investment. Tae-ho pulled up his datapad. I need information about the Void Collective from 23 years ago, specifically who they sold things to. Mira's smile faded. That's dangerous information. The Void don't like people digging into their business. Can you get it? She studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. Give me 2 weeks. It will cost you. The Queen is paying. Then I'll get you the best information money can buy. 2 weeks later, Tae-ho returned to Mira's office. She looked exhausted but excited. I found something. It took some serious digging, and I had to call in favors from people who scare me, but I found something. She pulled up a hologram showing a complex web of transactions. The Void Collective hit that diplomatic ship 23 years ago. You're right. They didn't keep the princesses. They sold them fast, within 48 hours. But here's the thing. They split them up, sent them to 3 different buyers in 3 different sectors. Tae-ho's heart beat faster. Can you identify the buyers? One of them, a mining operation in the Ashran system. They bought several people that week for labor. One was listed as a Vrin female. Child, approximately 8 years old. Soren, Tae-ho whispered. The oldest daughter? Kyung leaned forward. Is she still there? The mining colony still exists, Mira said. Whether she's still there after 23 years? I have no idea. But it's your first real lead. Tae-ho stood up. Send me everything you have on that colony, how to get there, who runs it, everything. 3 days later, Tae-ho and Kyung arrived in the Ashran system. The mining colony was built into a large asteroid. It was ugly and industrial, all metal and rock. They docked at the public port and entered carefully. Hyun had insisted on coming with them. If you find a princess, she will need a Vrin face she can trust, he said. The colony was rough. Miners worked long shifts pulling valuable metals from the asteroid's core. Guards watched everyone. It was the kind of place where people came to disappear or to hide. Tae-ho spent 3 weeks there, working as a transport pilot. He moved cargo between the colony and nearby stations. It gave him an excuse to be around and ask questions. Slowly, carefully, he learned about the colony's workers. One day, while loading cargo, he saw her. A Vrin woman with tired eyes and rough hands. She wore a worker's jumpsuit with a number on the back, 482. Her blue-silver skin had scars, and she moved like someone who had worked hard for many years. But her face, under the exhaustion and age, matched the photograph Tae-ho had studied 1,000 times. That's her, he whispered to Kyung. That's Soren. Kyung looked nervous. You sure? She looks nothing like a princess. She's the right age. She's Vrin. And look at her eyes. They're the queen's eyes. Getting close to her took another month. Tae-ho arranged to work near her section. He said hello every day. She ignored him at first, like she ignored everyone. But humans are persistent, and eventually she started to respond. Why do you keep talking to me? She asked one day, her voice rough from years in dusty mines. Because you look like you could use a friend, Tae-ho said simply. She almost smiled. Friends are dangerous here. They make you weak. Or they make you strong, Tae-ho replied. Depends on the friends. Over the next few weeks, they talked during breaks. Taiho learned that she didn't remember much from before the colony. She had been there since she was young, she said. The memories before that were fuzzy and painful, so she didn't think about them. "Do you remember your name?" Taiho asked one day. "Your real name? Before you were a number?" She looked at him sharply. "Why do you ask that?" "Because everyone has a real name. Something from before." She was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "Sometimes I dream of someone calling me Soren, but it's just a dream." Taiho's heart hammered in his chest. What if it's not a dream? What if it's a memory? She stood up quickly. "I need to get back to work." That night, Taiho met with Kyung and Hyun in their small rented room. "It's definitely her. She remembers her name." "Then let's tell her the truth," Hyun said. "Tell her she's a princess and take her home." "It's not that simple," Taiho said. "She's been here for over 20 years. Her mind has protected itself by forgetting. We have to be careful." "So what do we do?" Kyung asked. "We show her proof, gently. And then we get her out of here." The next day, Taiho brought a small hologram projector to work. During their break, he showed Soren a picture. It was old from before the kidnapping. 3 little girls playing in a garden, their mother watching them with love. "Do you recognize anyone in this picture?" Taiho asked softly. Soren stared at the hologram. Her hands began to shake. That's me. I'm the tall one. But how? Where did you get this?" "Your mother gave it to me," Taiho said. "Queen Elantha. She's been looking for you for 23 years. Soren dropped the projector. Her face went pale. No, that's not possible. I'm nobody. I'm just number 482. You're Soren. You're a princess. And your mother wants you to come home." Tears fell down Soren's face. She shook her head, backing away. "I can't be. I'm not. I don't remember how to be that person." Hyun stepped forward, removing his helmet. "Princess Soren, I serve your mother. She has never stopped searching for you. Please, come home." The extraction happened 3 days later. It was dangerous and fast. Taiho had paid off the right guards and arranged for a quick departure. Soren was scared and confused, but she held onto the hologram of her family like it was a lifeline. As their ship left the Ashran system, Soren sat quietly, staring out the window. "I have sisters," she whispered. "Myra and Vera. Are they alive too?" Taiho sat beside her. "I'm going to find them. I promise." She looked at him with those eyes that were so much like her mother's. "Why are you doing this? You're human. We're not your people." "Because someone had to," Taiho said, "and I was stubborn enough to try." When they arrived at Velara, the entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Queen Elantha stood at the landing platform, her face showing every emotion at once. When Soren stepped off the ship, mother and daughter stared at each other for a long moment. Then the queen ran forward and pulled her daughter into her arms. They both collapsed to the ground, holding each other and crying. The whole court watched in silence, witnessing something they thought they would never see. 1 daughter found, 2 more to go. Taiho watched the reunion and felt something warm in his chest. Then he turned to Kyung. "Rest for 3 days. Then we start searching again." Kyung smiled tiredly. "You really don't know how to quit, do you?" "Not in my nature," Taiho said. "Not when I made a promise." Soren sat in a medical room in the palace, surrounded by gentle lights and soft sounds. A Vryn healer named Nari worked with her every day, helping her remember things from before. A human doctor named Sungho was there too, helping with the trauma that came from 23 years of hard labor. Taiho visited her before leaving to search for her sisters. She looked better now, cleaner and rested, but her eyes still carried shadows. "You're leaving already?" she asked. "Your sisters are still out there. Taiho said. Every day I wait is another day they're lost. Soren reached out and took his hand. Her grip was strong from years of mining work. Find them, Taiho. Please find them. I will. The search for the second daughter, Myra, took 8 months. The information Mira had gathered pointed to a wealthy collector on the pleasure moon of Calixus. This collector, named Worthon, had died 12 years ago. His estate had been divided and sold. The trail was cold, but Taiho was patient. He spent weeks on Calixus, talking to people who had worked for Worthon, servants, guards, traders. Most remembered nothing useful. Some refused to talk at all, but Taiho kept asking, kept searching. Finally, he found an old woman named Jisoo, who had been Worthon's housekeeper. She lived in a small apartment and survived on a tiny pension. When Taiho offered her money for information, she refused. I don't want money for that, she said quietly. I felt guilty for years. Guilty about what? Taiho asked. Jisoo sat down heavily. Worthon collected rare things, art, jewels, and people. Exotic creatures he kept like pets. There was a Vryn girl, maybe 13 years old when I first saw her. She was kept in a cage made to look like a garden. It was beautiful and terrible. Taiho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. What happened to her? When Worthon died, there was a fire. Deliberate, I think. The whole estate burned. Everyone said the girl died in the fire, but I never saw a body. I always wondered if she escaped. Where would she go? Kyung asked. Jisoo looked at them with sad eyes. If I was a young girl who had been caged and hurt, I would go somewhere I could never be weak again. Somewhere I could become strong. That's how Taiho found himself in the criminal underworld of Calixus. He followed rumors of a Vryn enforcer who worked for one of the major syndicates, a woman who was known for being cold, efficient, and absolutely ruthless. It took 3 more months to arrange a meeting. The crime boss, a creature called Ralith, found it amusing that a human wanted to meet his best enforcer. You have a death wish, human? I have information she needs, Taiho said. Ralith laughed. Fine, but if she kills you, I won't stop her. She doesn't like strangers. The meeting happened in an empty warehouse. Taiho stood in the center, waiting. Kyung and Hyun waited outside, ready to help if things went wrong. She appeared from the shadows like a ghost. Myra was tall and lean, all muscle and controlled violence. She wore dark clothes and carried weapons openly. Her Vryn features were sharp and dangerous. When she looked at Taiho, he saw no warmth, no recognition, only calculation. You wanted to talk? She said. Her voice was flat. Talk. My name is Taiho. I'm looking for someone. A Vryn woman who would be about 29 years old now. Someone who survived a fire 12 years ago. Myra's expression didn't change. Why? Because her mother has been looking for her for 23 years. Because she has a sister who wants to meet her. Because she deserves to know the truth. The truth about what? Taiho pulled out his datapad slowly, showing he meant no harm. He displayed a hologram. The same picture he had shown Soren. 3 little girls in a garden. Do you recognize the girl in the middle? He asked. Her name is Myra. She was 6 years old when this was taken. She's a princess. For the first time, Myra's face showed emotion. It was brief, just a flicker, but Taiho saw it. Confusion, maybe fear. I don't know what game you're playing, she said, her hand moving to her weapon. But I'm not interested. It's not a game. Your real name is Myra. You were taken by the Void Collective 23 years ago. You were sold to a collector who kept you like property. When he died, you escaped and survived the only way you knew how. But you're still the same person from this picture. I'm nothing like that child, Myra said coldly. That child was weak. I'm not weak. No, Taiho agreed. You're incredibly strong. You survived when anyone else would have broken. But being strong doesn't mean you have to be alone. Myra laughed, but it was a bitter sound. You think I'm going to believe some human who shows up with an old picture? You think I'll just go with you to meet some queen who forgot about me? She never forgot. She searched for 23 years. I'm proof of that. Then she wasted her time. Myra turned to leave. Your sister Soren remembers you, Taeho called out. She remembered playing with you in the garden. She wants to see you again. Myra stopped walking. For a long moment she stood perfectly still. Then she spoke without turning around. I don't have a sister. I don't have anyone. That's how I stay alive. She disappeared back into the shadows. The meeting was over. Kyung was frustrated when Taeho told him what happened. So that's it? She doesn't believe you and we just give up? We don't give up, Taeho said calmly. We wait. Wait for what? For her to think about it. For doubt to grow. For her curiosity to beat her fear. That could take forever. Then we'll wait forever if we have to. Taeho stayed on Calixis for 2 more months. He didn't try to contact Myra again. He just stayed visible, working at a public repair shop, living in a modest hotel, making himself available. Then one night someone attacked him, 3 thugs with knives, probably sent by someone who didn't like questions being asked about the past. Taeho fought back, but he was 1 against 3. Then Myra appeared. She moved like lightning, taking down all 3 attackers in seconds. They didn't stand a chance against her. When they were unconscious on the ground, she turned to Taeho. You're still here, she said. I told you I would be, Taeho replied, breathing hard. Thank you for the help. I didn't help you. I just don't like people attacking in my territory without permission. But her eyes said something different. Myra, Taeho said gently, come with me. Meet your mother. Meet Soren. If you don't like what you find, you can leave. But at least know the truth. She stared at him for a long time. Taeho could see the war happening inside her, the part that wanted to believe fighting against the part that was afraid to hope. Finally, she spoke. If this is a trick, I'll kill you myself. Understood. The journey back to Velara took 2 weeks. Myra was tense the entire time, ready to fight or run. Hyun tried to talk to her about the Vrin Empire, about her mother, but she mostly stayed silent. Taeho talked to her when she allowed it. Not about being a princess or her past, just small talk, human stories, things that weren't threatening. Slowly, very slowly, her walls came down a tiny bit. Why do you do this? She asked one night. They were sitting in the ship's common area. Search for lost people. You're human. You could be doing anything else. Because everyone deserves to be found, Taeho said. Because family matters, and because I'm too stubborn to do anything else. Myra almost smiled. Stubborn? That's one word for it. When they arrived at Velara, Soren was waiting at the landing platform. She had insisted on being there, even though Nari said she should rest more. When the ship landed and Myra stepped out, Soren gasped. Myra? She whispered. Myra stopped, staring at the woman in front of her. Soren was older, marked by hard years, but her face was familiar in a way that made Myra's chest hurt. I know you, Myra said quietly. I don't remember how, but I know you. Soren walked forward slowly, tears running down her face. You're my sister. We used to play together every day. You would climb trees and I would be scared you'd fall. But you never did. You were fearless. I'm not fearless, Myra said. I'm just good at pretending. You don't have to pretend anymore. Myra stood frozen as Soren reached out and took her hand. The touch was gentle and warm. Something inside Myra, something that had been hard and cold for years, began to crack. Queen Elantha appeared then. She had been waiting inside, giving her daughters space. When she saw Myra, she couldn't hold back. She ran forward and pulled both her daughters into her arms. Myra didn't cry. She didn't know how anymore. But she stood there and let herself be held. For the first time in 23 years, she felt something that might have been safe. Later, as doctors checked Myra's health and Nari began planning her care, Tai-Ho prepared to leave again. Soren found him in the hallway. "Two found," she said. "One more to go." "Vera," Tai-Ho said, "the youngest. She'll be the hardest." "Why?" "Because the information says she was never sold. The Void Collective kept her. If that's true, finding her will be dangerous." Soren touched his arm. "Be careful, Tai-Ho. You've given us back our lives. Don't lose yours." "I'll be careful," he promised, "but I'm still going. I have one more sister to bring home." 2 years had passed since Tai-Ho made his promise to Queen Elantha. He had 1 year left, and one daughter still missing. The youngest, Vera. The information about Vera was different from her sisters. Darker. A defector from the Void Collective, a woman named Yunbi, had sold Tai-Ho information that made his blood run cold. "They kept the youngest one," Yunbi told him in a secret meeting. "They raised her to be one of them, a psychological weapon. They planned to send her back to the Vryn Empire someday, trained to spy and destroy from within." "Where is she now?" Tai-Ho asked. "Still with them. She works as an intelligence officer in the Void military. She has no memory of being a princess. To her, the Void Collective is her family." Kyung looked horrified. "How do we get someone back who doesn't know she's lost?" That was the question Tai-Ho struggled with for weeks. Finally, he made a decision that terrified everyone who knew him. He would go into Void Collective territory. The Void Collective controlled a region of space that most species avoided. They were raiders and warriors, hostile to outsiders. Going into their territory was considered suicide. Tai-Ho hired a guide, a human mercenary named Junho, who had experience in void space. Junho was tough and scarred, someone who had seen too many battles and lived to tell about it. "You're insane," Junho said when they met. "Even with me, your chances of getting in and out alive are maybe 30%. "I'll take those odds," Tai-Ho said. "It's your funeral." They traveled with a small crew. Kyung came, of course. He had never left Tai-Ho's side. Hyun insisted on coming too, despite knowing he might not return. And Junho brought 2 of his own people, ex-soldiers who knew how to fight. The plan was simple, but dangerous. They would pose as traders wanting to establish new routes. It was thin cover, but it was the best they had. Yunbi had given them codes and identification that might work. Crossing into void space felt like entering a different universe. Everything was darker here, more hostile. Void ships patrolled constantly. They were stopped 3 times and questioned. Each time, Tai-Ho's heart raced, but their fake credentials held. They reached a void station called Darkfall. It was a military and trade hub, ugly and efficient. This is where Yunbi said Vera worked. Finding her took a week of careful observation. Tai-Ho couldn't just ask questions here. People disappeared in the Void Collective for being too curious. But he watched and waited, patient as always. Then he saw her. A Vryn woman in a Void military uniform, walking with other officers. She was 27 years old now, tall and straight. Her face was serious, focused. She looked nothing like a lost princess. She looked like a soldier who had never known any other life. "That's her," Hyun whispered. "That's Princess Vera. I can see the queen in her face." "She won't recognize that name," Tai-Ho said quietly. "To her, she's someone else entirely." Getting close to her was almost impossible. She was always surrounded by other Void officers or working in secure areas, but Tai-Ho was nothing if not patient. He arranged to be in places where she would be, a trading floor, a public transport hub. Slowly, very slowly, he made sure she noticed him. Humans were rare in void space, which helped. After a few days, Vera's curiosity seemed to win. She approached him in a market. "You're human," she said. Her voice was cold and professional. "What are you doing in void territory?" "Trading," Taiho said calmly. "New routes, new opportunities. Humans don't usually come here. It's dangerous." "I like danger." She studied him with sharp eyes. "I'm going to need to see your credentials and permits." This was the moment everything could fall apart. Taiho handed over his fake documents. Vera examined them carefully. Too carefully. He could see her intelligence at work looking for problems. "These seem legitimate," she said finally, "but I'll be watching you. If you're here for any reason besides trade, you'll be arrested." "Understood, officer." She walked away, but Taiho knew he had made an impression. Good or bad, he wasn't sure yet. Over the next few days, he continued to cross paths with her, always accidentally, always briefly. Each time, they talked a little more. Taiho was careful never to push, never to seem too interested. But he planted seeds. "Do you ever wonder about your life before the military?" he asked once. Vera frowned. "I've always been military, since I was a child." "No memories of anything else? Family? Home?" "The Void Collective is my family," she said firmly. But Taiho saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt? Confusion? Then his time ran out. Someone reported him as suspicious. Void security arrested him and his entire crew. They were taken to a detention facility and separated. Taiho found himself in a cell, alone. This was bad. Very bad. But he hadn't come this far to give up now. They brought him to an interrogation room. The officer who entered was imposing and cruel-looking. Lord Vastrock, one of the Void Collective's commanders. The same one who had ordered the attack on the diplomatic ship 23 years ago. "You're not a traitor," Vastrock said. "We've checked. Your credentials are fake. Who are you and what do you want?" Taiho could have lied, but lies wouldn't get him what he needed. So he told the truth. "My name is Taiho. I'm here to find someone. A Vryn woman who was taken as a child and raised by your people. I want to take her home." Vastrock's expression changed to amusement. "You mean Vera, our intelligence officer? You came all this way for her?" "Yes. She doesn't remember being anyone else. She's one of us now, loyal, dedicated. You wasted your time, human." "Maybe," Taiho said. "Or maybe she deserves to know the truth about who she is." Vastrock leaned forward. "And who is she?" "A princess, daughter of Queen Elantha of the Vryn Empire. She has 2 sisters who miss her, a mother who has searched for her for 23 years. Lies won't save you." "It's not a lie. I've already found her 2 sisters. I brought them home. Vera is the last one." Vastrock studied Taiho carefully. Then he laughed. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Maybe both. I'm curious about something. Why do you persist?" "All logic says you should have given up long ago." Taiho met his eyes without fear. "Because I promised, and because she deserves to know the truth. Everyone deserves that." "Even if the truth destroys her?" "Even then." Vastrock stood up. "I'm going to have Vera interrogate you. Let's see what happens when she hears your story." They brought Taiho to a different room. Vera entered, her face professional but confused. "I've been ordered to question you. They say you came here for me specifically." "I did," Taiho said. "Why?" "To bring you home." Vera sat down across from him. "I am home. I don't know you. I don't know any Vryn Queen." "You're mistaken." Taiho pulled out his data pad. They hadn't taken it yet, probably wanting to see what he would show her. He displayed the picture. The 3 little girls in the garden. "That's you," he said, pointing to the smallest girl. "Your name is Vera. You were 4 years old when this was taken. The tall girl is Soren. The middle one is Myra. They're your sisters. Vera stared at the picture. Her hands gripped the table. No, this is some kind of trick. It's not a trick. The Void Collective took you when you were 4. They raised you to be a weapon against your own people. But you're not a weapon. You're a person. You're a daughter and a sister. Stop, Vera said. Her voice shook slightly. Stop talking. But Taiho continued, gentle but firm. Your mother never stopped looking for you. Neither did your sisters. I've spent 3 years searching. I found Soren working in a mine. I found Myra in a criminal syndicate. They both remembered. Deep down, they knew who they really were. Vera stood up suddenly. This is manipulation. Psychological warfare. I won't listen. She left the room, but Taiho knew his words had reached her. They kept him imprisoned for days. Each day, Vera came to question him, and each day, Taiho told her more. Stories about her mother, about her sisters, about the life she should have had. He showed her evidence, pictures, documents, truth, and slowly, painfully, Vera's armor began to crack. I have dreams, she admitted one day. Her voice was barely a whisper. Dreams of a woman with a kind face. She sings to me. But I thought they were just dreams. That's your mother, Taiho said gently. Queen Ilantha. She used to sing to you every night. Tears appeared in Vera's eyes. If what you say is true, then my entire life is a lie. Everything I am is based on manipulation. No, Taiho said firmly. What you are is a survivor. You survived the only way you could. That takes incredible strength, but now you have a choice. You can stay here or you can come home. Home, Vera whispered. I don't even know what that means. Then come find out. That night, alarms suddenly blared through the detention facility. Vera appeared at Taiho's cell, unlocking it with her security codes. Her face was determined but terrified. We're leaving, she said. Now, before I change my mind. She freed Kyung, Hyun, and the others. Junho was injured but alive. They fought their way to the docking bay where their ship waited. Void soldiers tried to stop them, but Vera knew all their tactics and protocols. She led them through with precision. Lord Vastrock himself appeared as they reached their ship. Vera, what are you doing? Vera turned to face him. My name is Vera. I'm a princess of the Vryn Empire, and I'm going home. We raised you. We gave you purpose. You stole me, Vera said. You took a child and turned her into a tool, but I'm not a tool anymore. Vastrock reached for his weapon, but Vera was faster. She fired a stunning shot that dropped him. Then she ran for the ship with the others. As they flew out of void space, pursued by angry ships, Vera sat quietly in the corner. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Everything she thought she knew was collapsing around her. Taiho sat beside her. You're safe now. I don't feel safe, she whispered. I feel lost. That's okay, Taiho said. Being lost means you can be found, and your family is waiting to find you. The journey back to Velara took 3 months. It was a long, careful trip because Void Collective ships hunted them for the first few weeks, but eventually they crossed into safe space, and the pursuit ended. During those 3 months, Vera struggled. Some days she was angry, throwing things and shouting. Some days she was silent, staring at nothing for hours. The memories of her true childhood fought against the programming of her void training. It was painful to watch. Taiho stayed near her, patient as always. He didn't push or force anything. He just talked when she wanted to talk and sat quietly when she wanted silence. Sometimes she asked him questions. What if I can't be what they want me to be? She asked one night. What if I'm too broken? You're not broken, Taiho said. You're healing. That's different. Healing takes time. How much time? However much you need. Your family waited 23 years. They can wait a little longer. Vera looked at him with those eyes that reminded him so much of Queen Elantha. Why did you do this? You're human. You could have quit at any time. No one would have blamed you. Taiho smiled. That's what everyone keeps asking me. The truth is simple. I made a promise to a mother who lost her children. Humans don't break promises like that. We're stubborn that way. Stubborn, Vera repeated. That's a kind word for it. I've been called worse. For the first time, Vera almost smiled. Thank you, Taiho, for not giving up on me. I never would have. Halfway through the journey, Taiho received a message from Velara. It was from Soren and Myra. They had recorded it together, sitting side by side. Vera, Soren said in the video, I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you. You were the baby of our family. You loved flowers and music. You used to follow me everywhere. Myra spoke next, her voice awkward but sincere. I'm not good with words. I spent years learning to be hard and cold. But when I look at old pictures of us together, I feel something. I think that's what family means. Please come home. We're waiting for you. Vera watched the message 5 times. Then she asked Taiho if she could send a reply. Of course, he said. Vera's message was short and shaky, but it was real. I'm scared. I don't know how to be a sister or a daughter, but I want to try. I'm coming home. When they finally approached Velara, the entire planet seemed to know. News of the third princess's return had spread like fire. Ships came out to escort them safely to the palace. It was a parade, a celebration, a miracle. Taiho stood on the bridge with Vera. She was dressed in simple clothes, her void uniform discarded. She looked terrified. They're going to expect so much from me, she whispered. No, Taiho said. They're just going to be happy you're alive. The rest will come later. The ship landed at the palace platform. Queen Elantha stood there, flanked by Soren and Myra. All 3 women were crying before the ship's doors even opened. Vera stepped out slowly. She saw her family waiting and froze. For a moment, Taiho thought she might run back into the ship. But then Soren ran forward. Vera, she said, stopping just in front of her youngest sister. It's really you. Vera stared at her. I don't remember you clearly, just pieces. Feelings. That's okay. We have time to make new memories. Myra walked up next, awkward and uncertain. She wasn't good with emotions yet, but she tried. You're home now. You're safe. Then Queen Elantha approached. She moved slowly, as if afraid Vera might disappear like smoke. When she reached her youngest daughter, she cupped Vera's face in her hands. My baby girl, the queen whispered. I thought I had lost you forever. Vera's walls finally broke completely. She collapsed into her mother's arms and sobbed. All the pain, all the confusion, all the years of lies poured out of her. Queen Elantha held her tightly, crying just as hard, whispering words of love and comfort in their native language. Soren and Myra joined the embrace, all 4 women holding each other as if they would never let go. The palace guards, the royal court, everyone watching had tears in their eyes. It was a moment of pure, perfect healing. Taiho stood back, watching with Kyung and Hyun. His job was done. 3 years, almost to the day. He had kept his promise. You did it, Kyung said quietly. You actually did it. We did it, Taiho corrected. I couldn't have done this alone. Hyun bowed deeply. You are a hero, Taiho. The entire Vryn Empire will remember your name. I'm not a hero, Taiho said. I'm just stubborn. Later that evening, there was a formal ceremony. The entire palace was filled with people from across the empire who came to witness this historic moment. Taiho was brought before the queen and her 3 daughters, who now sat together on thrones made for them. Queen Elantha stood and addressed the crowd. Today, we celebrate a miracle. Not just the return of my daughters, but the proof that hope should never die. For 23 years, I searched. Hundreds tried to help me and failed. But one person, a human named Taiho, refused to accept failure. He made me a promise, and he kept it. She turned to Taiho. I offer you anything in my power to give. Wealth beyond measure, a title of nobility, a position in my court. Name your reward. Taiho bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, I only want one thing. A modest ship and the freedom to continue helping others who are lost. The crowd murmured in surprise. The queen smiled. You ask for so little when you've given so much. I have everything I need, Taiho said. But there are others out there like your daughters. People who are lost and need someone to find them. That's what I want to do? Then you shall have your ship, the finest we can build, Queen Elantha said, and you will forever be a friend to the Vryn Empire. Any help you need, any support, you need only ask. After the ceremony, each of the princesses came to thank Taiho privately. Soren hugged him tightly. You saved my life. You gave me back my family. Myra gripped his hand. You showed me that strength isn't just about fighting, it's about caring. Thank you. Vera was last. She stood in front of Taiho, still uncertain and healing, but with something new in her eyes. Hope. I asked you why you did this, she said. You said because you promised. But I think it's more than that. I think you did it because you believe everyone deserves to come home. Taiho nodded. Everyone does. Everyone deserves to be found, to be loved, to belong somewhere. I still don't know who I am, Vera admitted. But I know I'm not alone anymore. That's because of you. She kissed his cheek gently. Thank you for finding me, Taiho. Thank you for not giving up. A week later, Taiho prepared to leave Velara in his new ship. It was sleek and fast, with excellent sensors and comfortable quarters. A gift from a grateful queen. Kyung loaded supplies onto the ship. So what's next? Another impossible rescue? Probably, Taiho said with a smile. You know you could stay here, live in comfort. Rest for once. Resting isn't in my nature. Besides, someone out there needs help. Someone is lost and waiting to be found. Hyun came to say goodbye. He had decided to return to his military service, but he would never forget this journey. Will you ever come back to Velara? Maybe, Taiho said, but probably not for a while. The galaxy is big, and there are lots of lost people. Queen Elantha came personally to see him off. Her 3 daughters stood with her, together and whole for the first time in 23 years. You have changed our lives forever, the queen said. Changed our entire empire. We will not forget what you've done. Just remember this, Taiho said. Never give up on the lost. Never stop searching. That's the lesson here. As his ship lifted off from Velara, Taiho looked down at the planet. He could see the 4 women standing together, watching him leave. A family reunited. A promise kept. 5 years later, Taiho had rescued 17 more people from impossible situations. His reputation grew across the galaxy. The human who never quits. The one who finds the lost. On Velara, the 3 princesses had become powerful voices in the empire. Soren used her experience to help reform labor laws. Myra trained new guards and taught them that strength comes from protection, not violence. Vera led diplomatic efforts, using her understanding of different cultures to build bridges. Queen Elantha established the Taiho Protocol, an empire-wide program that dedicated resources to finding missing people. No one would be forgotten. No one would be given up on. Humans gained a reputation throughout the galaxy. They weren't the strongest species. They weren't the smartest or the most advanced. But they had something unique. An irrational, beautiful stubbornness. A refusal to accept defeat. A belief that impossible just meant it would take longer. And somewhere in the outer rim of space, Taiho sat in his ship, reading a new contract. A family looking for their son, missing for 15 years. Most people said it was hopeless. Taiho smiled and set course for the last known location. 15 years, he said to himself. That's nothing. I've got time. Because that's what humans do. They persist. They hope. They promise and they deliver. They never, ever give up on bringing people home.